This video is for homework in Mastery 1.1, Section 2.5 in your textbook, Order of Operations and Applications Involving Integers. When we're looking at integers and order of operations, we need to remember 4 steps. First, we need to make sure that we do everything inside the parentheses or brackets first. This can be any type of grouping symbol that we are looking at. It can even mean when we have a large fraction, we need to complete everything in the numerator and then everything in the denominator before we do the division. Second, we need to simplify the exponents. Third, we need to multiply and divide from left to right. It's very important that we notice that multiplication and division are considered equal on this step, and we do them in order just like we see them as we would reading a book. We do them in order from left to right. Last, we add or subtract from left to right. So let's look at some examples. We have 12 minus 30 divided by 5 times negative 3 squared minus 2. Remember, first thing to look for is parentheses. Well, I have a set of parentheses here, but there's nothing I can do to simplify inside the parentheses. So the next thing I do is I identify the exponents. And I have negative 3 squared. So I simplify negative 3 squared, which means negative 3 times negative 3, which becomes a positive 9. And I replace the negative 3 squared with a positive 9. At this point, I look and see if I have any other exponents, which in this case I do not. Therefore, I move to my multiplication and division from left to right. I start on the left-hand side of my equation and start looking. Negative 30 divided by 5 is actually my first division that I see. That is what I'm going to do. Now you have to realize, yes, I do see a multiplication, but in reading from left to right, the division comes first. So I'll do the division, 30 divided by 5, and I'll get 6. Now I will do my multiplication, 6 times 9, and I'll get 54. After getting 54, I can change everything because now all I just have is addition subtraction. I have 12 minus 54 minus 2. I can change those into adding their opposites, such as here, and then do their subtraction or addition, and I get negative 44. Making sure that I do this division before I do this multiplication is extremely important. If I don't, I actually get a different answer. This is a nationally and actually worldwide accepted way of doing order of operations. If we don't all do it in the same way, we come up with different answers. Therefore, we have to agree on how we're going to do it. Let's look at some other examples. Here's one. This one has brackets and parentheses. So the first thing I'm going to do is perform everything inside the brackets and parentheses first. And so I'm going to simplify inside the top bracket. And inside my top bracket, the first thing that I can do is the multiplication of 8 and negative 3. And I get negative 24. I'm going to continue to simplify inside the top bracket. Negative 24 plus negative 24 will give me a negative 48. I still have a set of parentheses that I need to simplify. 14 minus 20. And I get negative 6. My last step is to take negative 48 divided by negative 6. Remember, negative divided by negative will give me a positive, and my answer is positive 8. Here's one. Now don't panic because this has a different type of brackets and parentheses. We just have multiple sets. We go to the innermost grouping symbol. Well, when we do that, we first start trying to do something with this -2. I can't at the moment, but I notice that I can do something with the 8 divided by -2. That will be my first step. 8 divided by -2 will give me a -4. I continue inside the grouping symbols, and I do -4 times -4. Now let me say, yes, this division is ahead of this multiplication, but this multiplication is inside grouping symbols. That is why I do it first. So I have -4 times -4, which gives me a +16. Then I have -48 divided by 16, which will leave me with a -3. Again, we have to remember to complete inside the grouping symbols. And notice I did not drop any of the grouping symbols until I completed the process inside the grouping symbol. Let's look at an application problem. Ions are atoms, or groups of atoms, with positive or negative electrical charges. An oxide ion has an electrical charge of -2, while a magnesium ion has a charge of +2. Find the total charge of 6 oxide and 5 magnesium ions. Okay, so what did I just read there? Well, I've got 2 different ions, and they both have a charge, but they have a different charge. And I am asked to find the total charge. So I need to look at what kind of equation I can set up. Well, my total charge is going to equal the number of oxide ions times its charge plus the number of magnesium ions times its charge. Let's start with the oxide ions. I have 6 oxide ions, and the charge of the oxide ions is -2. So I get 6 times -2 plus the number of magnesium ions. I have 5 of those, and they have a charge of +2. So I get 5 times a +2. So I can do my multiplication. 6 times -2 will be -12, and 5 times +2 will be +10. And simply subtract. -12 plus 10 will give me a -2. So my total charge will be a -2. Again, make sure that you're remembering that on order of operations, you complete everything inside of your grouping symbols first, and even inside the grouping symbols you must follow the other order of operations. The order of operations is grouping symbols, then exponents, and then multiplication, division in order from left to right, then addition, subtraction in order from left to right. Go ahead and watch the other videos that accompany this homework, and if you need help, let one of us know.